Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be discussing the failures of the Albanese government regarding our Defence Force and planned procurement of new systems and technologies. Now this video may be a little bit controversial, so I just need to set the record real quick. Many of the issues that are faced by Australia's military are not just the fault of the Albanese government. They've been caused by decades of incompetent leadership from both the Liberal and Labor parties. For example, when Scott Morrison was in office, he cancelled the procurement of the Global Hawk, which was an upgraded variant of the Reaper drone operated by America. Then, only a few weeks later, the Defence Minister at the time, Peter Dutton, would go on to make a speech stating that drones are the future of warfare, in what was a borderline schizophrenic move. The point that I'm trying to make is that the issues faced by our military today have been around for decades, thanks to incompetent governments and the limitations of bureaucracy. However, what I'll be discussing today are issues that Albanese has either failed to address or situations that have emerged under his leadership. So to start this all off, we have the first gripe: lack of increased funding. The Albanese government thus far hasn't allocated any major increases of funding to our Defence Force, with the major raises promised only going to occur in the second and hypothetical third terms if he gets in. Now obviously that is an issue. This spending shouldn't be committed in the second term as a hostage situation, nor should it be made into a politicised point. The funding should be secure, reliable, and on time. Otherwise, none of the projects, such as upgrading and equipping our military and expanding our defence industry, especially when we are faced by times where our region is unstable and war could break out with one miscalculation, will fail. The next issue, as I've mentioned before, is drones, namely reusable drone systems. These have been proven to be extremely useful across the world, in the form of the American Predator and Reaper drones, or the Turkish Bayraktar drone, which has seen service in Ukraine. These systems, whilst more expensive than regular drones, have several key advantages, including longer loiter times, the capacity to fulfill multiple missions including reconnaissance, strike, and potentially even air-to-air roles. Australia initially had plans to purchase the Global Hawk, which, as mentioned, was a modified version of the American Predator. However, this was scrapped under the Morrison government in what I consider to be a massive mistake. After this blunder, Australia's main hope to obtain an autonomous aerial weapon system has been focused on the Ghost Bat, formerly known as the Loyal Wingman. This drone has been accelerated through its production process and will enter service within a short time frame. Rather worryingly though, recent developments have seen commentary that the system will be focused on the reconnaissance role instead of any combat capacity, which means that the main combat capability will be focused on suicide drones such as the Owl, which is currently being procured by the Army. Now, this being said, there is a debate for the relevancy of drones. But I need to make this point. These drone systems are slow flying assets with no stealth capabilities. On the other hand, the Ghost Bat is a stealthy system and is designed to support the F-35 and our current combat assets. It's a force multiplier, and the concept is that it would be able to carry out strike missions and target enemy aircraft and do many roles, which makes it more relevant than the systems like the Bayraktar. Now, continuing the drone-related issues, Australia lacks any systems to counter kamikaze drones being procured by most potentially hostile nations. As we've seen in Ukraine, cheap drones have caused tanks to become much more vulnerable in the modern environment, which has led to higher losses of armoured assets alongside personnel. Now, as I've discussed on this channel, drones are not the ultimate killing machine, and do have vulnerabilities, which can be used to counter the systems. These include electronic warfare measures, kinetic measures, all of which can be built here in Australia and are already produced by local companies. This raises the question as to why we don't utilise our own industries to provide such capabilities for our Defence Force. Next of all, we must cover the topic of air defence. As I've mentioned on the channel previously, Australia has a severe lack of air defence systems. We currently only have one functional air defence battery here in Australia, despite having numerous facilities which would be high priority targets. We have the munitions factory in Maryborough, which builds 155mm artillery rounds, the planned facility to build HIMARS munition, the Boxer factory in Brisbane, the factory which will build Redback infantry fighting vehicles, amongst all the other military facilities in our great country. However, all of this is me simply assuming that a hostile adversary would be chivalrous enough to target only military facilities and not our hospitals, our civilian infrastructure, or our cities. We should be investing into effective multi-layer air defence systems, including long-range, medium-range, and close-range air defence systems. The fact that Albanese has failed to make any decision to expand upon this equipment is a massive mistake. And if a war occurs, this will lead to needless deaths of Australian citizens. Now, there are other areas that I could cover, such as the lack of changes from Albanese to increase the amount of personnel in our defence force, not strengthening the interoperability with the nations in our region, such as assisting Papua New Guinea with developing a more effective military that can work alongside us in a conflict. Now, like I said at the start, not all these issues are the fault of Albanese, and many of these have been the result of incompetent leadership up until now. However, these are issues that have received particular spotlight under his leadership, or situations that have developed since then. What I also want to make clear is that the military decisions should not be politicised, and it needs to be treated with bipartisanship from our major parties, as pointless virtue signalling does nothing, other than cost lives in the long run. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing to the channel, or liking the video. I thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.